recognize this guitar tune? Hang on and don't use your chasm. The answer is crystal clear. This song is Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple, and the guitar part was played by Ritchie Blackmore. You will certainly agree with me if I say that the most famous rock music songs are known by their guitar notes, and thanks to this huge success, there are now a bunch of famous guitarists called the Guitar Heroes. But what if I play this one? Well, this song is called Blood on the Sun by Leslie West, who was a brilliant guitarist who hadn't the opportunity to play with famous or best-selling rock music band. Stick around, together we're gonna talk about some unknown guitarists coming from the 60s and the 70s. And now, guess what time is it? No, it's not time to say Yazina Dirilete, but just Yazina, press play. Hello everyone, you're in Algerian Black Pearl. Welcome to this new episode of your old-fashioned podcast, the Rockin Fella. And here we have as an official slogan, جديد حبه والقديم موت عليه. As I said before, having a guitarist in a rock band is something essential. Frankly, could you imagine what Stairway to Heaven would look like if Jimmy Page hadn't played on it? But beyond the Guitar Heroes, have you ever thought to look after some known or some guitarists coming from the underground? So don't worry, I've already done it, and together we're gonna see and talk about some 3 brilliant guitarists coming from the 60s and the 70s. Here we go now. Our first guitarist for today will be Michael Bloomfield. So who was Mike Bloomfield? He was born in Chicago in 1943 in a very wealthy and rich family, and he was supposed to follow his father's business pathway, but his passion toward music took him elsewhere, right to the Chicago South Side Blues Club, when he learned to play guitar and also went on stage with some living legends such as B.B. King, Muddy Waters, and Big Joe Williams. In 1964, Mike Bloomfield traveled with his friend Charlie Musselwhite to New York, and at this time the city was filled by musicians and also by music producer, and thanks to his friendship with the blues singer John Hammond Jr., so Mike Bloomfield took part to his first studio recording by playing guitar on the album So Many Roads. In 1965, he returned to Chicago and he met the harmonica player Paul Butterfield and the guitarist Elvin Bishop, and together they formed the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. So this band was invited to a such conservative festival, Newport Folk Festival, in 1965, and it was like a red rug for a bull for the folk followers, except one man named Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan was charmed by the performance of the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, and he invited them to join him at stage for the ending of the festival. And this collaboration marked the beginning of the electric era of Bob Dylan. By the end of the festival, Bob Dylan proposed to Mike Bloomfield to join his band, but Mike Bloomfield declined this offer and preferred to carry on with the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. However, he played guitar in 2 famous Bob Dylan records, Like a Rolling Stone and Rainy Day Woman Revisited. Then Mike Bloomfield started to record one of the most famous modern blues albums with the Paul Butterfield Blues Band and called East West, but after a little while he left the band and he formed the Electric Flag Band in 1967. The Electric Flag Band had their peak in 1968 with their famous album Long Time's Comin', which was a mix of jazz, rock, blues, rhythm and blues, and soul. But Mike Bloomfield broke up with the band just after a little while and went to record a famous album with Al Kooper. Afterward, Mike Bloomfield stepped out from the music industry and started to play only for some small and tiny record labels until he passed away in 1981. Our second guitarist for today will be Dwan Allman. So Dwan Allman was born in Mississippi in 1946, and he learned to play the guitar from his brother Greg Allman. And the two brothers went on the road in 1964 with their mobile studio and started to play all along the country under the name of the Allman Joy. But the things didn't work out for the two brothers, and then they came back to their hometown. At this time, Dwan Allman started to play slide guitar and to collaborate with some local artists until his talent got the ear of Rick Hall, who was simply the owner of the Muscle Show studio. And then Dwan Allman was hired as a confirmed and senior musician. And then Dwan Allman started to collaborate with some famous artists such as Aretha Franklin, Otis Rush, King Curtis, and the most famous collaboration was with Wilson Pickett in the cover of the Beatles song Hey Jude. And at this time, Dwan Allman started to gather musicians from all around the country in order to form his own band, and they were only in need for a lead singer, and then he called his brother Greg to become the singer and the lead vocalist of the Allman Brothers band. After live performance in Miami, Dwan Allman met Eric Clapton, and then Eric Clapton invited him to play in his upcoming record Layla. Although if Eric Clapton proposed to Dwan Allman to be a full-time guitarist in his own band, but Dwan Allman didn't leave the Allman Brothers band and preferred to focus on the record of their famous album Live at Fillmore East. But a few times after this recording, Dwan Allman passed away in a motorcycle crash, and he was only 24 years old. Our last guitarist for today would be Leslie West. Who was Leslie West? No, he wasn't the grandfather of Kanye West. He didn't run for the US election, and he didn't get married with Kim Kardashian family member. Leslie West was an American guitarist born in New York in 1945. He started his musical career with a band called The Vagrants, and this band had the opportunity to work with the Cream producer Felix Pappalardi. And then the band broke up, and Leslie West and Felix decided to form their own band called Mountain. So the band had reached their peak with their famous track Mississippi Queen, and also Theme of an Imaginary West, which was composed by the bass player of Cream, Jake Bruce. Then the band broke up just a few years after their creation, and then Leslie West started to have a solo career, and he had the opportunity to have plenty of collaboration, mostly with Bo Diddley, and the most famous collaboration was in the late 80s with Joe Bonamassa. Leslie West passed away in December 2020, and all along his career he held the respect from famous guitarists such as Jimi Hendrix, Ritchie Blackmore, and Eddie Van Halen. But outside the heavy metal and the rock, his legacy extends to the hip-hop musical style, and for example, his Woodstock recording Long Red was sampled in countless rap tracks such as 99 Problems from Jay-Z. That's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed all these stories, but before the end of this episode, I would like to share with you some words coming from Oasis frontman and guitarist Noel Gallagher, who said, "I've always told the kids playing guitar it's not a video game. There is no level to get to, and you will never master or finish the game." Here I am, Anis. See you next time. Meanwhile, take care of yourself and keep playing music.